If you love the Caribbean like I do, and how could you not, really there aren't that many options during rainy season. There's an old adage that says if you want to go to the Caribbean and if you do not particularly enjoy torrential rains, heartbreaking weather, basically zero memories, and giving away thousands of dollars, you only have three options, and that's ABC: Aruba, Barbados, and Curacao. I'm calling BS on that, especially if you want some energy, some action, and some fun. Not only am I inserting PC, Punta Cana, into that acronym, I'm putting it number one. I have been here for 30 days over peak rainy season, and every single day has essentially been like this. It has totally changed my outlook on Punta Cana travel, and because of that, I had my best trip ever. Some of my best memories ever. I found some of the coolest hotels ever, and I saved thousands of dollars. The crowds are amazing, the hotels are cheap, and the weather is so much better than you would have ever imagined. I will be back every single Punta Cana rainy season, and in this video I'm going to explain why and why you should be going as well. This is a video I never thought I'd be making. Punta Cana during rainy season. I'm always an advocate of coming to the Caribbean during on-season, dry season, peak season. Just historically, you're going to get the best weather, the most sunny days, the least amount of rain, just the overall best weather experience. But there are some anomalies and some gems that you can find during rainy season. And in this video, I'm going to let you know which months I would absolutely choose during rainy season. There are two I would avoid at all costs, even if you paid me. I'm going to divulge a couple of the prices that I paid. They are insane, literally. I'm also going to reveal a huge hack that I found within the weather data. It's a scary statistic if you're a traveler or someone who loves the sunshine. It's not rainfall, but it's probably the second most important one. And after being here for a month, I'm going to completely ignore it moving forward. And I think it's going to completely change the way I select my destinations during rainy season months. I'm going to let you know why I had the best time ever, what the crowds are like, and I'm going to fill you in on a few of the drawbacks. It's not all roses, but overall, I was able to have my happiest vacation, my best vacation ever for literally the cheapest price. I saved thousands and thousands of dollars. So I quickly just want to talk about what is rainy season and what is dry season, on season, off season. They're used interchangeably. Peak season, dry season, is from November to April. And that's when you're going to find the most amount of sun, the least amount of rain, lesser humidity, less seaweed, just basically overall the best weather in the Caribbean. Off-season, rainy season would be the opposite 6 months. They would be May through October, and it's essentially the opposite. Those are going to be the wettest months. They're going to have the least amount of sunny days, more clouds, allegedly, and just, the most aggravating weather, at least from a Caribbean standpoint. Two of my favorite months during rainy season have always been May and October, and those are generally regarded as shoulder season because those months are the transition from peak season and to peak season. So the end of peak season or dry season is April, and sometimes if you visit in May, you're gonna get some of that peak season weather, if not all of that peak season weather. It just depends on the hand that you're dealt. And the same goes for October. Sometimes peak season, dry season starts early. Officially it's November, but sometimes it can start in October and even in September. So October is another great month to go during rainy season because sometimes you can siphon some of that weather. And the wonderful thing about shoulder season is that they come at much steeper discounts than the months before. So even though May is right next to April and October the same for November, because they are rainy season, they are highly discounted compared to their counterpart months. Now, taking that a step further, if you cannot go during shoulder season, which would be the 2 months I recommend most, October and May, July is always the least rainy month in the Caribbean. And that pretty much goes across the entire board, whether it is Jamaica, Cancun, Punta Cana, wherever. July is always a fantastic month to travel to the Caribbean. So if you want to go during rainy season, almost always you can choose July and play the odds. And typically that's going to be the month with the least amount of rainfall. So those are 3 months I would choose. I would choose October would be number 1, May would be number 2, and then July would be number 3. Now there's only 1 month remaining, and that is actually the month I was here in Punta Cana, and that is June. And June is historically an extremely rainy month. When people email or message me and they want to know which months are the best, is October good? Is January good? I always say look at the historical weather. It's going to give you an average or a probability of what to expect. But the averages are just that, and there are outliers. The one thing about June that scared me away from Punta Cana wasn't necessarily the rainfall. In fact, compared to other destinations like Cancun or Costa Rica or any other Caribbean destination, the rainfall in June is significantly lighter than pretty much the rest of the Caribbean areas. But the one thing that scared me the most was the amount of cloud cover. All right, so if you take a look at the amount of cloud cover, it shows that it is cloudy 90% of the time. And as you will see, as I put out my hotel videos throughout the entire month, that data is completely false. I don't know how they're measuring cloudy days or what constitutes a cloudy day, but it is completely wrong. Not only is it completely wrong, I would say it is inverse, where I saw clear skies 90% of the time instead of cloud cover 90% of the time. Cloudy days are just as scary as rain because if it's gray and it's gloomy and it's dark, the ambition and aspiration to go outside and be at the pool or be in the beach just really isn't there. I mean, what's the point of being in the tropics if it's gray outside? So it's that cloud cover statistic that scared me all of these years. And now that I've been here for a month, that data is not accurate at all. So one of the biggest hacks, I think, is ignoring that statistic. Don't ignore average rainfall. Don't ignore the heat or the humidity, but absolutely ignore that cloud cover data because from what I saw and what you'll see in my videos, that couldn't be any more inaccurate. And before I go any further, I do want to say the 2 months I would stay away from would be the peak months of hurricane season, August and September. That can bleed into October a little bit, but the 2 I would stay away from for sure would be August and September. If you've been to the Caribbean if you've ever been to the Caribbean, you know storms can last days, even weeks. But if you come earlier in rainy season, you're less likely to get the storms. Any rainfall that you're going to get is going to be short, sweet, and followed by sun. And I want to add one more thing to that. This is just what I experienced this month. Again, weather is random. No 2 seasons, days, years are going to be the same. But what I experienced is that the rainfall came either late afternoon, early evening, or at night. It rarely came during the day. And I think that's important because you want your sunshine during the day. And if it is going to rain, you'd want it later in the afternoon, early in the evening, or at night. And that is exactly what I experienced pretty much every time when it did rain here in June, which it rarely did. If you're interested in the historical weather data, which months are the sunniest, the hottest, the coldest, the rainiest, I'll link my favorite weather almanac down below. I think it's called Weather Spark. I quickly now want to talk about why I had the happiest trip I've ever had, the best trip, the cheapest trip, and why I really recommend coming here during rainy season. Expectations really are the key to happiness. This is a Buddhist philosophy, but it's true. The less expectations you have, the least you'll be disappointed. My expectations were at an all-time low. I mean, Caribbean rainy season, I was expecting it to be terrible weather. I was really expecting to be in my room most of the time getting work done. And wow, was I surprised on that. But because my expectations were so low, any sunny day, let alone, 95% sunny days, were just, complete bright spots, literally. This experience was also so influential because I was able to select hotels I would have never chosen previously, or at least so soon. I have a lot of hotels in Punta Cana to see still, and the hotels I chose were further down on my list. But because the pricing was so attractive, and because there was literally no risk, they were so cheap, as my dad would say, I couldn't afford not to. There was no risk. I mean, if they were only $100 a night, for example, why not? There's nothing to lose. And because I selected hotels that I typically would not have, or was able to kind of venture out my quote unquote comfort zone, I am going to make a complete cost video, but let's say I was able to stay at a few of the Ryu properties for around $100 a night. I was able to book a honeymoon suite at a really fun hotel that had a low-key party vibe. Basically the best suite on the entire property for around $200 a night. The deals are incredible. Now, I did make a video on how to get the best prices possible. If you're interested in that, I'll link it below. And remember, it's just me. So if you're coming with another person at an all-inclusive, there will be an added cost. But for me, I was able to stay at some hotels that would cost $1,500, $2,000 total during peak season for around $500 or $600 during rainy season. So the prices are just insane. Lastly, peak season versus off season. The main thing I saw, the main difference was, I guess, in the crowd. And the crowd during rainy season was a lot more youthful and energetic and vibrant than what I experienced during the typical on season when I usually go. Maybe it's because it's the summer months and that's when, you know, the demographic is conditioned to travel. Maybe it's because the prices are cheaper and that draws a more youthful crowd. I don't know. Maybe it's the hotels I chose, or maybe it just happened to be random. Perhaps it's observation bias, but you'll see in the videos, the crowd is certainly younger, more vibrant, more electric, just more youthful than what you've seen in my videos in the past. And again, maybe it's the summer months, maybe it's the hotels, maybe it's the pricing, maybe it's all of them. Just wait until you see my Ryu videos. Those parties are absolutely the craziest I have ever encountered ever in my life, anywhere at any Ryu. But Ryus are its own story. But you'll see it throughout every hotel I went to, and it's just something that I noticed. Really, the only drawback for me was the humidity. It is not to be ignored. It is not comfortable to be outside unless you are accustomed to that humidity. Unless you're in Miami or Houston or an extremely humid city, it's going to be uncomfortable. I've been to Punta Cana who knows how many times. I think this is hotel 26, 27. I stay at each one for 4 or 5 nights. It's uncomfortable. I'm used to eating outside now and being outside during on season, but it's pretty dreadful during rainy season. It's instant sweat. Just standing in line in the lobby after you left your room, you'll start sweating within 4 or 5 minutes. It's extremely uncomfortable, and even the workers will tell you, you know, how humid it is during this time of year. So that's really the only drawback. And I came during June, which is not the best month by any means. There are certainly better times to come, which even gives me further hope for the future. But yeah, Punta Cana rainy season, I'm so glad I came. Best time, best weather, best prices for sure.